so that you can see the public, and I will put it in full screen mode so that everyone can see what are you doing. This is it. Okay. You can go.
Okay, everyone here. So
wait just a second.
no, we can't hear you anymore.
Unmute. That's okay.
Okay, now it's okay. Yes.
Just a second. Select LGTV. Try now.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Good.
Great.
Okay. So let's start. We're not being too late. Hello to everyone from our side. So we are trying today to make this hybrid cooperation between the two projects. I will just shortly introduce the project that we are leading under the patronage, I would say, from United Nations, from UNIDO. This is a project focused to drive the transition of tourism 4.0, so-called, to share the experiences from Slovenia to Montenegro. This is our first, if I'm not, here is some slides. So Slovenia is supporting this and coordinating for the Ministry of Economic Development and Tourism from Montenegro. And next slide, please. The objective is to, as I said, to transfer the experiences that we have gained in Slovenia to Montenegro through pilots that will be then on site, giving results in terms of 3D models, new tourist experiences, and we hope really to strengthen the ecosystem and share the knowledge with you all there to then be able to do this kind of projects also in the future. Next slide, please. So, as I said, this is our first webinar from this series. And together we will, so as we discussed, we will share from our side some examples from Slovenia. Mateusz is together with me today. This is our expert. He's leading the Heritage Plus program at Arctur, which is a high-tech company leading the project from Slovenia. And then later we would be really happy to have a conversation and share, your experiences, and see then how can cooperations between us for the future be for benefit in your country. Mateusz, if you agree, I would give the word to you for the short presentation. Or Milos, do you want to share something from your side, please, first?
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
That's great. So in the beginning of this workshop, we had first an info session regarding our project. But what I would like to say is that I'm very pleased to work with you on this project, because we have developed the 3D model. You are going to build on our 3D model, so the cooperation between us and you, it's very important also for our project. And regarding the main goal, I believe, is aligned also with us, because the main situation here is the preservation of the cultural monuments and valorization for touristic purposes. So I would not use too much of your time, because I know that you also have lots of other stuff to do today. So let's go with Mateusz's presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Hvala, Miloš. So, hi everyone. Last time, remember, we've been in this series, we've been speaking about the 3D digital capture and data processing. So my colleagues last time, Luca and Jernej, presented how a 3D model is captured on site and how it's then processed into a mesh 3D model that can be used online in various contexts. And of course, now the question is, how do we use it? And this is the aim of today's session, to talk about how to tell a story with this 3D model. So how to digitally interpret cultural heritage using the 3D models. As we already said in the very beginning, we believe that digital technologies can be a help in telling these stories about cultural heritage, just because they add an additional layer of information, and this additional layer is audiovisual, meaning that it can capture attention, it can engage people, and of course, it can be much more interactive. So when we talk about digital storytelling, I already mentioned in one of the previous sessions, we talk about something that is, when we talk about storytelling, we talk about something that is with us as human civilization for a very long time, but the digital storytelling is relatively recent. And of course, it combines the new media that has evolved from the last half of the previous century onwards, and especially in this century, it is booming. So why digital storytelling? Because, as I said, it can stimulate an emotional connection. It can personalize the experience. It can add additional interactivity, and of course, it can be data-driven. And digital storytelling is a mixture of technology, of understanding the digital tools and how these tools work, and of course, also being able to implement these tools. But it is also a combination of the traditional storytelling, of understanding who is the listener and how do we convey the message to this listener. So in digital storytelling, we are able to combine several tools, and we call them media, several media. You might know augmented reality, virtual reality, different interactive screens, holograms, VR games, 360-degree interactions, or we tell a story by going backwards to the physical world. So, for example, with 3D prints, where we have a digital asset, but we 3D print it and use it in a physical world. And of course, with every time with digital storytelling, of course, we are talking about a tool, a medium, but often we are talking about a combination of tools. So how to tell a story using a combination of tools, also, of course, combining it with real life experiences, with tourist guides, with real human tourist guides, with the classical museum presentations, with classical movies. So it's often about the combination of these things. And why maybe this digital storytelling in general is a bit unknown to most of us is because if you think in schools, elementary schools, high schools, we've been always taught how to tell stories by speaking or by writing. But very seldom we've been given a task or we've been learned how to tell a story through a movie or through a VR game, virtual reality game, or even through a regular computer game. But this, of course, is happening. And the ones of you who are maybe playing computer games know that they are full of stories that can engage you a lot. So, and of course, discussion often then emerges which is the best tool and what is the best tool to tell a story. And we never have the answer because we believe it really depends on the purpose that you want to tell, on the audience, and on the message that you have. So that's why what is crucial is to understand who is the listener, or in our case, who is the user of this medium. And so this is, maybe some of you know, the empathy map, which basically tries to understand not just who the user is from the demographic point of view, not just the age, the job or the nationality, but actually we need to understand what the user is saying out loud, what is the user thinking, and this might be two different things. Also, of course, what does the user do? And again, what the user does is not the same as he or she thinks or says. And again, and the fourth element, what the user feels. And what the user feels is maybe not the same as one thinks rationally, or as what says and does. So we need to understand these elements before the user is engaged, but also throughout the experience, how we will make the user feel and how we will make the user think about what he or she is experiencing. So all these elements are super important. In that process, we are using several methods to understand or to sketch this experience. And I don't want to go one by one because there are many of them, and maybe you know some of them already. But just to list them here and to understand that there are many ways how to sketch who is the target group and how we will convey this message to this target group. Because basically what we are developing in this storytelling is let's say, a user or a customer journey. We are taking our user on a journey, on a path, and this path will be a combination of physical and digital elements, and then within physical and within the digital tools, there will be several steps. There will be some sort of onboarding. There will be some sort of, let's say, instructions at the beginning. But also then there will be, let's say, different tasks, different challenges, or in the case of, let's say, non-interactive experiences, there will be, the narrative triangle, with the climax and so on. So in many ways, it's the best to sketch this journey. And here are some rules that we want to follow. Of course, that we never promise something that we cannot deliver, so that the user doesn't have a feeling that he or she will experience something that won't happen later on. The communication within this storytelling needs to be super clear, very to the point. And if we are pretending that the tool that the user is using is smart tool, it needs to also behave as smart. So maybe some of you know that, for example, in ChatGPT, when you ask ChatGPT something, ChatGPT will say, thinking, I'm thinking. We, of course, all know that ChatGPT is not thinking because it is an algorithm. It's not the human way of thinking. But it gives us the impression that we have a smart person on the other side, and that this is one of those elements. And the same goes for virtual reality games or holograms. We need to consider those elements there. And not to complicate too much and not to be too theoretical, I decided today to share with you three stories that we decided to tell in our past projects. One of them I have already presented in the first session, and I want to go maybe a little bit deeper with this and also to stress these storytelling elements. It's the story of the mysteries of submerged villages. So this is happening in the surroundings of Velenje. Velenje is a mining region, it is still a mining region in Slovenia that is transforming into a tourist destination. It is mostly known for 3 lakes, natural lakes, that have been created there, and they are, they're not natural lakes, they are artificial lakes. So they have been created there as a consequence of mining. And in that process of this mining, several villages people from several villages were moved out, and the whole villages have submerged in those lakes because they were basically in the way of the artificial lakes. So people had to leave. And this didn't happen very long time ago. This happened mostly after Second World War. So these people are still alive. Many of them are still alive. So how to tell this story? which is not a happy story. It is a bitter story, especially for those people, but also for the whole destination. And here we developed a tourist experience, which is, let's say, a flagship tourist experience. It is showing the way how to communicate about this destination, even though it's not a mass tourist product. It's
Just before 1 minute, sorry.
Yeah.
I just need to ask the persons that are here if they understood everything, so that we can continue. Is that fine with you?
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Ima li neko da nešto možda nije razumio, ako ćete da objasnim u stvari o čemu govorim? Sve ok? Jer oni rade upravo na virtualnoj balanci. I upravo ono što je o čemu je do sad govorio, još o tome, to nam sve treba, na koji način se prilazi nekome koji je korisnik, da bi se što više približila to pripovjedanje vezano za bilo koji spomenik kulture ili bilo što biste vi željeli da odradite. Upravo je ovaj primjer na kompjuterskim video igricama koje same po sebi sve imaju neku priču i vi možete jednostavno i to vas uzbuje dalje da to igrate. Ono što upravo sad on pokazuje je taj jedan njihov projekat koji je vezan za jedna sela koja su potopljena za stvaranje vještačkog jezika. I onda kako da se objasni u stvari, kako je tekla u stvari sada priča koja je ovako isto malo tužna, kako je u stvari, zbog čega je to sve napravljeno, tako da samo da mu kažemo da može da nastavi to čisto da vam kažem. So yes, we can continue. I just briefly inform them about your what you said for some of our people that don't speak very well English, but you can continue. Thank you, Mateusz. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah. Milos, should I make more stops in between so you can explain what?
If there is something that someone would know, they will give me a sign, so then I can tell it to you. So it's fine. I believe that you can go further.
Okay.
Or maybe we can also suggest anytime anyone is having question to maybe stop and ask, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I believe that's fine. Or if you want, at the end we can do the question, but that's fine. We can do it like that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So going back to the Velenie Lakes. So we wanted to tell this story that is, in many ways, it is a sad story, but it is also a story that is, let's say, the story of Atlantis, but in a Slovenian context. The story of a lost city underwater. Well, of course, in a Slovenian context, everything's super small and it's a village. It's not a city. We developed the story. So this is the lake that you see here. It looks very natural, even though it's artificial. We created a full day experience that starts in the mine, and you are guided through the mine by a miner. This miner is a tourist guide, but he is also playing in a role. So he's in a role and he's pretending to be the son of the family that used to live in those houses. So he's telling a very personal story. Of course, it's a made-up story. It's not really his story, but he's acting. And people are really then deeply connected with this story because it is his story in their eyes. And those of you who come from the mining regions know that what he's wearing is also a traditional mining dress that has these very traditional buttons on it. But one of the buttons is missing on his dress, and this is then every time he's basically reminding people that this is missing, and he doesn't know where it was lost actually. So you start in the mine and you hear the stories how the mining was going, but especially how the lakes were formed and how the villages disappeared. And you hear the personal stories of the people. We have recorded them talking about this. But then you go up on the lake with this small boat, and on that small boat you are giving virtual reality glasses, and there in the middle of the lake, you virtually descend into the lake. You basically flow through the graveyard of the village, past the shop, past the school, and you end up on the main square in front of the church where you find the lost button. And this is how this story in a way ends. And what was missing for this miner was always this connection back with his roots, with the village where his parents lived. And this is how, instead of just telling this in a very plain, let's say, rational way, we told it through a personal story, searching for this button, but also using the 3D animation, using the virtual reality to tell this whole story. And I think this is, like I said, it is a flagship product for the destination. It is not mass. It doesn't have mass users or mass customers, because it is mostly a way how to talk about the destination in media, how to talk about the destination to partners in European projects. So it is, let's say, more a global narrative, a bigger picture story. Milos, if you want to make a summary, otherwise I can continue.
Yes, thank you. So ovo što je upravo prezentovali stvari, oni su napravili to na način što su angažovali jednog glumca koji glumi rudar i koji provodi turiste od rudnika do jezera, i on upravo priča tu priču kao da se njemu to stvarno desilo, odnosno da se to desilo njegovim roditeljima. I ono što je vrlo važno jeste da svi vide da mu na rukavu fali jedno dugme. I on kaže, negdje sam izgubio, ne znam gdje mi je bilo, i onda kad ih povedu na ovo jezero, mi stavi naočare za virtualnu stvarnost, i oni u stvari uđu unutra, i kao što ste vidjeli na ovom bunaru koji se to nekaj nalazi, stoji to dugme koje oni u stvari nalazi. Znači, neka vrsta interakcije i mnogo bolje pripovjedanje, da to nije neko pripovjedanje koje je ovako šturo, jednostavno samo vam upišu što se tu desilo, već da ste i vi nekako uvučeni i da osjetite jednim dijelom kako u stvari to sve funkcioniše. Thank you. You can continue, Mateusz.
Yeah. So that was one example with virtual reality and so on. A second example that we were telling of this digital storytelling was in the north of Slovenia, where there is this small church. You see, it's really very small. It is not. It doesn't have regular religious ceremonies there. Only on the bigger events it is in use. But this church is also, it has a older history, pre-Christian history, because here in that church, maybe you see here below, there is this glass floor, and below it are the archaeological excavations that were found on this location. Why? Because it is believed that this was also the location of the pre-Christian Slavic pagan sanctuary or a temple. So, and this location, it is believed, was the location of a Slavic god, George, Yuri, George, actually, in your context, probably. So this George, Yuri, this story is older, as I said, a pagan story of this pagan god who was the son of the supreme god, the supreme Slavic god. In Slovenian, we call him Perun, and was also this Yuri George was also a brother of Mara, and Mara was his sister, but also Mara was his lover. So it is a story of incest, so a love between brother and a sister. They didn't know it, of course. And this story, the pagan story, is also the story of the 4 seasons of the year. How it is a story how spring turns into summer, how summer turns into autumn, and how at the end in winter, the Mara, Yuri's sister, remains alone because the father was angry in autumn and sent again the son away from her. So this is the story that was believed to happen here. This church, by the way, is called St. George Church, and this is also how, at least in Slovenia, the pagan story of George was transformed into Saint George, the story of Saint George that we know from Christianity. So how to tell this story in this church? We decided to put a big projection screen in front of the altar and use this projection screen as a canvas on which we tell this story. We tell why we believe that this is the location of this pagan location, and we tell the story using a combination of the shadow theater. So this is the actual shadow of a person that we've recorded. We've recorded the whole story in shadows, and then we use animation next to it. So 2D animation. So I'm just showing you some screens of this story, which is a love story, but is also a sad story because it is forbidden love, the love that should not happen, and how Yuri, George, is fighting dragons. This is already the pagan story, but also you maybe know that how later on in Christianity, the Saint George is also the one who fought against the dragon. So we tell this story there in that church, and it is very impactful. Why? Because of course it is a big screen, animated screen. It is not like watching a story on your computer or on your phone, but also it's what is important is the space where we tell this story, because it is that space. It is that space. You are above the archaeological excavations, so you really feel a different energy there. And of course, it is a church, and again, you feel very different atmosphere in a church, and you much more connect with this whole story of George and Saint George. So this is another story where again we used animation, digital tools to tell it. Maybe Miloš, if you want to make a summary, then I continue.
Yes, sure. Dakle, ovo je jedan drugačiji projekat koji je vezan bio za crkvu, ali ono što je vrlo važno jeste da je u stvari taj Đorđe, to je, ako se vidjeli, bio je nama jedan stakleni pod, ispod njega su bila arheološka nalazišta gdje je u stvari vjerovanje da je tu bio taj prvi paganski, slovenski paganski objekat. I taj Đorđe Jurk, kako bi se zvao već, on je imao zabranjenu vezu sa svojom sestrom, on nije znao da je to sestra, ali kroz svu ovu priču oni su postavili jedan veliki ekran u toj crkvi u kojoj oni upravo i govore da misle da je to taj objekat i da je u stvari taj Đorđe u stvari na kraju postoji Sveti Đorđe koji ga svi slave, odnosno Đorđe kad je sad, to je Đorđe, tako. To je u stvari priča o njemu, tako da je napravljena priča nije kao ona prethodna koja je bila vrtovno slavnosti, ona je napravljena kroz animaciju, kroz stvari ljudi, one se gledate, ljudi što ste vidjeli su slavni, nisu animacije. Thank you, can continue.
Yeah. Maybe just a small comment. It is a projection on the screen. It's not an actual screen. It's a projection on this surface. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My last example, and then I finish, is from Izola. Izola is a small town on the coast of Slovenia. And for those of you who speak Italian or know Italian, also know that Isola in Italian, Isola, it means an island. But today, Isola is not an island. And people that visit Isola have no idea that it used to be an island. Because when you are there, you don't have a feeling that you're on an island. Maybe you have a feeling that it is a peninsula, but not even that. Most of the people don't have a feeling that it is anything special. But for most of its history, and when I say most of its history, I mean thousands of years, it was an island. And only in the 19th century, the channel between the island and the mainland was filled with different rubbish and rocks and so on. But before that, it was an island. So we wanted to tell this story, the 1,000-year story of an island. And we decided we tell it using a video projection mapping on a model. So we created here below, you see, it is a model of today's Isola. It was done in one color, but then we project image on top of it. So if I would turn off the light, the projector, it would be gray color. But once we open the projector, we tell the video plays and it's colorful and so on. And we tell the story, and we split the story into nine chapters. And this is now just an images that you would see if you would be looking on the model from above, directly from above. So you see how basically this is the whole story. This is just some images from this story, which is 9 minutes long. As I said, 9 chapters. For each of the chapters is from different time period, and we show how Isola used to look like in that time period. We combine, of course, the map, historical map. In many cases, it is made up, but also we add photos next to it. Animated things are happening, so there are boats floating around and so on. And we have the music background, the soundtrack was made specifically for this. So for each of the chapters, we created a specific soundtrack. So to give you an example, in the period of Venice, we have a Venetian melody, but it is played using electric guitar. And then when Isola was moved basically from the Venice into the Austro-Hungarian Empire, in Austro-Hungarian, we have waltz, traditional waltz, but again, played using electric guitar. And with this electric guitar, we have this uniformity across all the chapters. I'm just showing some of the images from above, so how this is changing. There's many things happening, and this is how, for us, it was the easiest to tell a story that lasts thousands of years, many things going on, but put it, and I go back here, put it in a room that is fully dark, and this is the only light thing in the middle there, and it really grabs attention of people, especially with the music and so on. So this is another example how we, using digital technologies, can tell stories in a different way. It is not a movie, it is not virtual reality, but it is an engaging way of telling this story. Milos, the floor is yours back.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mateusz. It was very nice and very, very informative. It is a beautiful thing to see 3 types of storytellings. Very, 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 very innovative. Dakle, ovo je drugačiji način prikazivanja. Oni što su napravili, because you printed the 3D model and then you just projected the...
Yeah.
Znači, oni su štampali 3D modelčina ovog ostrova, ali nekad ostrovo bilo sam, kao što vidite, ono što je i sami Mateusz rekao, ne biste mislili da je išta posebno tu kad dođe. Mislite se čak da možda je neki mali dio poluostrova ili tako nešto, ali čak ni to, baš da je dio terena, međutim, kao što vidite kroz ove slike koje su prikazali, u stvari To je nekad bilo izolesi zbog toga izvora, što znači samo po sebi ostrovo, ali kasnije to se, kao što vidite, proširila se zemlja, odnosno oni su to vještački vjerojatno napravili, da sad već ne imate to ostrovo, već je samo kao dio ostalog terena. Ono što je vrlo važno jeste da drugačiji način je dalje štampanje 3D modela i onda direktno iznad njega projekcija kako bi se obojala, da kažem, taj 3D model, i u većini slučajeva ti 3D modeli su ili bijeli ili sivi, u njihovom slučaju su sivi, i na taj način može da dobije razne boje na projekciji samog modela.
Yeah. It is two projectors on top, and we use a special software that only lights the area where the model is. So it's and also we have a special software that plays these chapters of history. But this is then more technicality. What in general, when we talk about storytelling, and I think this is the case with all three of those stories, we want to select a story that is somehow surprising, something that people are maybe not aware of. So, you're not telling something that is obvious. You want to tell something that is not obvious, and through this story, make it very obvious to them. And very, something that they really remember. So with these three cases, I have more, but I would stop here with these three cases. Maybe we tried to show how this storytelling can be done. And now I'm open basically for discussion. And maybe in this discussion, I can also show some other examples if it fits.
Just to ask them, dakle, ako imate bilo kakvo pitanje što se tiče ovih stavki koje već Mateuš prezentovao, možete sada pitate, jer mi trenutno ćemo sarađivati naravno na ovom projektu Žabljaka Crnojevića. Mateuš, I would like maybe to ask you one thing, because right now we are cooperating between our two projects regarding the development of the Žabljak Crnojevića model. So, what would be your suggestion, for example, for Žabljak Crnojevića to do as storytelling? I mean, you don't know Žabljak Crnojevića that well, but we also have today with us our archaeologist, this Dejan Gazivoda, who will afterwards make a presentation about Žabljak Crnojevića and what is its importance. But as I understand, you are going to build on our 3D model with the augmented reality. So I believe that in that case, as you just showed us your examples, I believe that maybe we must think of an interesting fact, an interesting story that happened there, so that then we can afterwards tell it to the tourists that came what is the main importance of this fortress.
Exactly. Yeah. So currently we are finalizing the 3D model of the existing status. We are building on top of what you already did. And then we want to make a virtual reconstruction of the fortress in the past. But of course, we haven't really defined yet when in the past, because in my opinion, this depends on the story that we select, the story that we want to tell. And of course, we haven't decided yet what is this story. So here, of course, we don't know. And also, I'm not so familiar with its history. And this is why, in a way, we are at the beginning. But what I would search for are like I said previously, these unusual things that people would not expect, or that are super important things, but people are just not aware of. And of course, when I say people, we have to specify who are these people. Are we talking about the locals, or, as in this project, I think we are more talking about tourists. So tourists that come to Montenegro and maybe know very little about your country. So I think it's important to in this context, search for this story. So to me, it was very interesting. This I don't know where I noted this fact. So that if the waters are very high, then this hill could become almost an island. Did I understood something correctly like this, or this is not true?
You understood correctly. In the winter, that is.
Yeah. So, for example, to me, this is very unusual thing because there's not many examples like this where something that feels mainland, and of course it's very far from the sea also, it becomes an island on a lake. And maybe this is why, because I come from Slovenia, and the main tourist attraction in Slovenia, it is an island on a lake. It's the Lake Bled. So, but this whole thing, you know, it's not like something that you don't like. When you are there, you don't expect it because it doesn't feel like it. And we were there, and it's very hard to imagine that the lake is then so big to turn it into an island. But again, we still need to, this is a natural phenomenon. We need to understand the historical context where this could be connected.
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
About that, and then Gazil, archaeologist, who digging the Žabljak Crnovića for many years, and speaking about this thema, I have some proposals here. We have the our prince Ivan Crnović. There was his court, and the Žabljak Crnović in his time was the main city of Montenegro. And when the Turks came here, he must go to Obod to move the main city to Obod, and after that continue. Here we can make the good story about that moment. And also in 19th century, we have that two historical moments when the Montenegrin soldiers conquered the Žabljak Crnovića 2 times, and we have a legend how they put on the fortress when the one woman who works in Turks court lend some, how to say in English, rope, and measure the walls, and she sent the measures to Montenegrin guys, and they made the letters, and that was the way they go inside the fortress and make the victory. That is real story, and that came good material for the presentation of Žabljak fortress, and I think we have many of them, and what is good that is real stories. And also we found some finds in Žabljak Crnovića. I will talk about it later, and I think we have here many of topics who can make the good stories in the future, when the Žabljak, I hope, will become the very good touristic and famous point in Montenegro. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for these suggestions. Milos, if you have this somewhere written, these stories, or if you, it can be in Montenegrin, but I would be very happy to read it and to share it with my colleagues.
Sure, absolutely, because the second one, I mean, it's a little bit new to me also regarding the conquering of the fortress from the Ottoman Empire, but I knew that it was liberated 2 times in the 19th century. The thing is that Ivan Crnović is the founder of Cetinje. So his first capital was Žabljak Crnović, and then he transferred to Obod, that's where Rijeka Crnović right now is, and then he came to Cetinje. And what we can do is we can also make a storytelling through this route that he did, so that you bring the tourists to Žabljak Crnović, you tell them the story, and that Ivan Crnović, then you bring them to Rijeka Crnović to see Obod, because also there was the first printing press in the Balkans. We made the first books in the Balkans, and then afterwards he came to Cetinje and founded Cetinje, that was almost 500 years capital of Montenegro. So I believe that we can use this story also for storytelling in one part, in one touristic route, and liberation stories can be said directly on the spot. So I believe that we can do it, and I can ask our colleagues just to provide us these stories so that we can send it to you, and then we can use them for storytelling.
Yeah. Sure. Any other comments, questions?
Yes, we have one question here from Vuk. He's in the chat. If we can see more VR studies, maybe Vuk, you can tell us more. What do you mean with that? Okay, this is. I'm coming back. Look, maybe somebody else questions online. No, today they are shy.
Actually, maybe Urška and Mateusz. Indeed, I mean, maybe it could have been already covered the augmented reality like this, virtual reconstruction thing. I think this is also it could be of the big interest to in Montenegrin experience. I mean, this is what we're trying to do, and maybe some examples you might have already shown them. But I think I'm not sure about Žablak, but I think for Brškovo that was the idea, right? Mostly to rebuild it at least virtually. And I think as many places I mean, your storytelling and you're also like how to say the approach of storytelling, not to dig only like for the last century, but you can really dig through I'd say different eras, let's say, of influence. And Montenegro is one of the richest countries in terms of it's not only like the last there was like 800 years, I don't know how many 100 years of Venetian culture. Then before it was of course Roman Empire. Before it was some Illyrian, etc. So I think the country is really rich in different layers of history, and I think maybe one of the next times, maybe you consider that this virtual reconstruction really worthwhile, maybe to dedicate additional session, or maybe already how you will be rebuilding the other thing could be of interest. I know what it could look like, but I thought I wanted to echo actually what Milos was saying, and maybe someone in the group, I think was Ivan, who was like feeding back on this. So, and I think this is what Vuk was trying to ask. Now I'm trying to guess maybe and to guide, not today, maybe other day demonstration.
Maybe I can show one example that we have of virtual reality, but we also developed augmented reality. But I'll show you the virtual reality one. I don't know, maybe I've shown this one already. I'll stop it and then I'll explain it. So what you see, or what I will show you, is a castle in the west of Slovenia. It is currently a ruin. So just a regular ruin on top of a hill. When we were doing this, it was there was no electricity on the site. It was basically a natural hill with a ruin on top. And we started, this is a project that lasted several years, and every year we added something more, and we worked with municipality there. We started by taking the scans that already existed of the site. They did it already before us. And we built the first virtual reconstruction of the site. This was the first year what we did. And then we continued. And what I will show you is a virtual reality that we did. So everything that you see is computer generated. So these are some examples. So it's a computer generated, and it's basically working with the local historians, archaeologists that excavated on this site to try to be as close to the reality as possible. So this is 17th century in Slovenia. And then we created a virtual reality experience where it is an interactive virtual reality experience, and you walk through the castle, through the rooms of the castle. In that case, it was 5 rooms, and in each of the rooms, there is one task that you need to do. These tasks are related to the history of the castle, but they did not happen in the same century. So you are basically from room to room, you're jumping also from time to time. And this is why, and this is our relationship with the storytelling, we needed to involve a new element into the story. And this element is a time travel machine. Because it is very wrong to make an impression that all these things happened at the same time, in the same century, let's say. They did not. They happened in different time periods. Some of them are legends. So this is why we enter this element of a time travel machine, which tells also the user that he or she is shifting from time period to time period when he or she is walking from room to room. So this is, as I said, interactive experience. It is a complex one, because it also requires hardware, so virtual reality glasses that are powered by a powerful computer, and it also it has a very long tutorial at the beginning so that you learn all the tricks of the game. For us, this was a big lesson because it is suited for younger audience, but not for let's say people who use virtual reality for the first time. And here we really see how crucial it is to understand who is the target group. Okay, so now it's shifting, or now it's repeating around, but just to end my thought. So here it's really clear that if the audience is not thought through at the beginning, then the result might not be the ideal for this. So in that case, the kids love it. It's intuitive for them. But people who use virtual reality glasses for the first time, they have troubles, and usually they don't finish the tasks. Even though they seem very simple, they're not so complex, but it's hard for them. And this is maybe the difference between this virtual reality and the one that I have shown at the beginning with the underwater, because in the underwater, the underwater experience is not interactive. So you see everything around you, you see the world underwater, but you cannot affect where you are moving. So, and you cannot grab anything, you cannot touch things, you cannot change anything. It is you see a movie that is happening around your eyes, around your head, which is different than the castle that I have shown. In that castle, you open the doors, you collect things, and of course, this makes it also harder to use. Maybe just to add, this same 3D model that I have shown of the castle just before, was also used in a web app, so web application for smartphones as a augmented reality. So when you go to the castle on top, you can use your phone, scan a QR code, and you see the castle from that same spot in 360-degree image, but from the 17th century. And I think this is also something that we've taught for Brskovo, where we need to reconstruct basically everything around. It is not that we need to place some digital objects in reality. We need to reconstruct everything, because in reality, currently there is nothing that looks like a village. So it has changed so much through time.
Thank you. Milos, do you want to translate, or we can go to Ivan for the questions?
We can go to Ivan. We can go to Ivan.
Ivan, please.
Hello there. Can you hear me first?
Yeah, we can.
Great. So just a quick introduction. My name is Ivan. I worked also with WUK. I studied Austro-Hungarian fortresses. I'm also an architect, live in Vienna at the moment, finished the university there. And for the thesis, I studied Austro-Hungarian fortresses in Montenegro. And until now, I widened the range of study. And during these studies, at the end, I wrote a book about Fort Kosmac in Montenegro. And we are now doing a similar thing what you did, Mateusz, is that we are trying to achieve first a VR experience, either probably a guided one, probably with not so many interactions, and then hopefully an AR experience. So the thing is, what I want to ask you is, while I was researching that particular case with Austro-Hungarian heritage, which is a, let's say, newer heritage in Montenegro, I discovered there is so many false information there that no one can actually know until you actually cross-reference all the sources, or at least in this case, the sources from Austro-Hungarian former capital, Vienna, and Montenegro. And you need to go really deep in to actually know the truth, which varies a lot from the current varieties that you can find in the books and logs and files and former studies, which is also done officially. But so the question is, what is, in your case, Mateusz, how much did you aim to achieve authenticity actually for these things? So, because if you want to be really authentic for the, let's say, newer history, which is probably possible, how do you achieve it for the, for example, 17th century or even earlier?
Yeah. It is hard. and in many ways, a never-ending story, in my opinion. Because in our work, we always expect that the client, so usually a public institution that wants this reconstruction, that they also provide us an expert that will work with us, someone that will guide our technical team in researching and in visualizing this. And of course, this then very much depends on this expert. To what degree the expert wants to speculate, because in many ways it is about speculation, or let's say an informative guess. So you something that you can not be 100% sure, but if you're an expert, you can say this is 95% sure. So, for example, in the castle of the 17th century, we had only 2 sketches of the castle from the village, from the town below it. So very, 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 very basic. But we had a very nice written recording of one person who visited the castle in the 17th century and basically described everything. It described how the doors look, what is behind the doors. If you look on the left, you see this. And then I walked forward, I saw this. And we took this document, which was written in Italian or Italian of the 17th century, and used this as a reference, and working with archaeologists to try to guess, for example, what were the materials used. Was the roof from clay or from wood? So they found brick roof elements in the archaeological excavations. So this is how we knew. And this is this example. But we had also other examples of other castles where we did not have such a so much information, and we remained with visualization very basic. Also, it looks very, let's say, more like more basic, maybe less realistic, less photorealistic, because we just didn't want to speculate on the details. So this is, for example, the dilemma there. We also, for example, in one of the cases, we were working on the Roman villa rustica, so a rural villa, a Roman rural villa that used to have, that is now just two small parts remaining with mosaics, let's say large 3 meters by 4 meters. But it was a very large villa with 100 servants working in it. So it was very large object. And there again, we worked with archaeologists, the best in Slovenia, to come up with a proposal. And as I said, it is a never-ending story. So we are always willing to change it because, and this is the good thing with digitalization, that you can change it. In reality, once you build it, it's very hard to demolish it and do it again. In digital world, this is relatively simple. And next time we will be talking in the session, we will be talking about storing data, archiving data. And this is super important to do because if you have the source documents from previous projects, then you can also change them 10 years ago, 10 years in the future, when maybe they or we will know more than we do today.
Thank you for your insights, really, because I had a similar idea that actually this database, basically never-ending one, can be actually a learning process for the future generation, that actually these things that you're now building can be used as educational tool in the future.
Actually, this is the idea, that we find all the potentials that this work can bring. It's like one is preservation, new tourist offer, but also education and all the research that can come with new technologies in the future. Any other questions? Maybe Milos from your side, or everyone is already hungry for lunch?
No, they don't have any more questions. I mean, it was straightforward. It was really nice to see these examples, and we are very looking forward to the development of Žagar language.
Yeah, so as I said previously, next time we will be talking, which is already on Monday, next time we will be talking about how to store the data, what data do we store, and how we show it online. Because this is also, show it online, and when I say show it online, also for others to reuse. This is our principles, that what we do should also be accessible to others that maybe want to continue or just go into a different direction with the materials that we have collected.
Great.
In June, there is one more webinar coming then on site, and for that we can then together see what would be the best thing to do so that we can make the most out of it, I would say.
Yeah, we are so when you're here, we will be together there, definitely.
Yes. Perfect. Good. So if there are any questions, as always, you please reach out per emails. We will try to address them all in the next webinars. Thank you for your attention, and have a nice day. So greetings to everyone.
For you for connecting today and for giving us your experiences and your realities. Thank you very much, and we wait for you here in Montenegro so that we can work together also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good feedback.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.